You are listening to Mondays Midday Mix, bringing you the best and the hottest dance music of the week, with your host, Will Jackson.
Good morning, people of the world. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Em3 Factory's Mondays Midday Mix. Of course, I am your host, Will Jackson, and you are again joining us live here in Kaiserslautern, Germany on a blustery Monday Kaiserslautern morning here in Germany. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have some wonderful tracks lined up and plus news. Again, thank you so much for joining us on this wonderful beginning of the week. What we do here best is provide you with the best in electronic dance music and news. Maybe a little controversy blogging here and there. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see how it goes today. But we are on the second week, or is it the third week of the new year? This is the second week of the new year, 2018. We are here, and we are here together. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to get into our first track. Of course, this is a wonderful track, as I always start out to say, but nonetheless, this track is from one of the mainline groups in the house music genre. It's one of my favorite groups, of course. And they started out, interestingly enough, in gospel. Gospel house. That's where originally the deepest of the house music originated from, I must say. I could add that in there. I think that's the right terminology. It was originally from the gospel music genre. It's meant to really inspire, and of course you lay it with the right 808s, you have no other choice but to dance to it. But the first group we have today is by Three Winan Brothers, featuring Karen Clark Sherd. And the name of the track is I Choose You. Once again, this is Three Whining Brothers featuring Karen Clark Sherd. Name of this track is called I Choose You, and of course this is a Louis Vega remix. Vega's doing the best that he does when it comes to producing, remixing, and DJing. Definitely one of my favorite tracks. And once again, thank you so much for joining us here today for Em3 presents Mondays Midday Mix, where we bring you the best and hottest dance music of the week.
I choose you. You chose me. I choose you. You chose me.
We're going to move right into the next select artist of the day. It goes by the name of Christian Smith, and the name of this track is called Automatic.
I choose you. You chose me.
Automatic.
We are listening to a wonderful track by David Moraes. The name of this track is called Bass Zone. And of course, before that, we had a track by Christian Smith. The name of that one was called Automatic. We're going to bring in the next artist. Goes by the name of Harvey McKay. The name of this track is called Lost. This is Harvey McKay. The name of this track is called Lost. Thank you once again for joining us here for Monday's Midday Mix. I am your host, Will Jackson. And this is the only internet station that brings you the best in the hottest house music tracks of the week. What we do here best is to start your Monday off right with the best tracks to dance to while you work. Thank you so much for listening. On this Monday, Martin Luther King birthday, Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday today. Observed over in the United States, nationally. Once again, thank you for joining us here live from the Em3 Factory Studios, hailing from Kaiserslautern, Germany, here in the wonderful, wonderful city of Kaiserslautern in Germany. Again, you are listening to Midday, Monday's Midday Mix. And we're going to go to a little news, of course, what we have going on in the news world. And we're on the heels of the British Awards, which is scheduled to unveil its nominee for the 2018 ceremony set to take place on February 21st in London, England. And this one is representing the electronic music's international presence. We have something new from Bjork. I'm glad to still know that she's in the music industry, pumping out those hits that she is so accustomed to doing. But she and LCD Sound System received nods in their respective categories, joined by the likes of Kendrick Lamar, Lords, Harm, and Childish Gambino. And other news, we got here in other news, which is very, very interesting. I came across something which is the saying that pop music has lost its fun, which is very interesting to know. Thanks to, of course, terrestrial radio and the big mogul monsters of the music industry, and them constantly putting out garbage, I have to say. But there are those that like that garbage and they subscribe to it. But here, internet radio is fast way becoming its prominent presence as far as being the leader in good music, whether you want to call it underground music or alternative music. But internet radio is here to stay. And I have to add, I'm so glad that we are here at the Em3 Factory Studios, are able to actually provide listeners with some of the best music around. Okay, we have, it was saying that it's commonly held grudges of listeners who are no longer pop's core demographic, that the music of the moment is not what it once was. That's what this article is claiming. And I'm not surprised. It was a claim made about jazz, of course, in the 1920s, when the New York Evening Post music critic Ernest Newman said it is an instrument of which little man can play at few pleasant little tunes. But if a composer of any power were to try to play its tune on it, it would soon break in his hands. Similar criticisms were repeated in the 50s with rock and roll, in the 60s with the beat group, and onward to today. I can remember them saying the same thing about hip-hop music. Of course, the critics were bellyaching and complaining that hip-hop was not an art form. And of course, hip-hop never did start out in the mainstream on the radio. Of course, they didn't play a lot of the music, and a lot of the music that was produced and started were sold out of the trunks of many other artists' cars in the United States back in the early 80s, going into the 90s and mid 90s, before mainstream music started accepting it more as a business. But it always stayed true to its underground characters, I have to add. So we have as the article continue, it's saying that the claim itself just not as good as it used to be, which is not really surprising to me. And it says, as anyone who follows election news reporting knows, polling isn't conclusive, and polling people about their musical tastes layers subjectively on subjectifying its genre, because when it's asked to state a preference, people are far happier to admit a loving classic like David Bowie, as the article continued to say, than a more recent revival. And they often cherry-pick the very best of the past in any case. That said, it is interesting to note the result of a 2014 poll conducted by Vanity Fair, in which 1,017 adults were asked a series of questions about their musical preference. And again, it says, when asked which decade has the worst music, their responses famed out in broadly chronological order, with the 2010s getting 42% of the vote, the 2000s getting 15%, and the 90s and 1980s and 70s coming in fairly equal with only 13%. I didn't write this. I'm just breaking the news, and we have it right here. Music is constructively getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And I don't know whether you want to blame that on terrestrial radio or not, or just the failing of the music industry itself at basically eating itself and digesting crap, as we know today. Again, I can't say it enough that terrestrial radio is on its last leg, and internet radio is coming up as being the leader in the source of music. And I'm not too ashamed to say that I'm not surprised that something like this is taking place in today's music world, regardless of the genre of music that is being played. But as again, I didn't write this. I'm only bringing the news to you here at the Em3 Factory Studios. Again, you are listening to Em3 presents Monday's Midday Mix, and I am your host, Will Jackson, and you are joining me live here at the Kaiserslautern, Germany studios on a wonderful, wonderful Monday. Again, happy birthday to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. One of what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to stall for time because I can't pull up the track. And this next track we're actually going to listen to is one by Louis Vega, featuring, what is this? Annex Torska. And the name of this track is called Sunlight. And it is giving me problems pulling this track up. I cannot pull it up. There we go. We got it coming. Again, this is a track by Louis Vega featuring Annex Torska. The name of this track is called Sunlight. You are listening to a track by Mon-G. The name of this one is called Unchained. And this is the Manu remix. The only place where you can actually hear the full version of each track here on Monday's Midday Mix. I am your host, Will Jackson. Thank you so much for joining us on this wonderful, blistery winter day here in Kaiserslautern, Germany. This is Memphia and Bobby Starr, simply called Red. Thank you once again for joining us here at the Em3 Factory Studios. This was Monday's Midday Mix. Of course, I am your host, Will Jackson, and you are joining me here live at the Em3 Factory Studios here in Kaiserslautern, Germany, where we play the best in dance music of all different genres. Remember, you can join us here each and every Monday, 12 noon, that is Central European Time. You can also go by our Facebook page and like us to stay up on the news and new tracks and shows that we feature here. That is Em3 Factory Studios on Facebook. Once again, enjoy your Monday and beginning of your week, work day, wherever you are in the world. And for the people in the United States that are observing this Monday for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, we look forward to being with you again next Monday. Always remember that intelligent music for intelligent minds.